Hi guys, Human Central here and welcome back to another video, and today we're going to be reviewing the most recent episode of the Flux Pot 5 Survivors of the Flux. Now this was the penultimate episode, so yeah, before we get into this, please consider liking and subscribing as it does really help me out. But yeah, let's get into it. So first off, we kind of start off basically with finding out what Yaz and Dan and Jericho have been up to, stuck in the time period, and they've basically been searching around for some big cosmic battle that's supposed to happen. And yeah, they're walking around trying to find what's happening in this cosmic battle, trying to figure out what's going on, as the Doctor left a message for Yaz saying that she's seen that she figured out this is going to probably happen because the Earth's the only proper planet defended. So they need to figure out when this battle's going to happen, what time, what year, and that's basically what they've been doing for the last couple of years. And then we kind of see what the Doctor's been doing, and she got obviously out of through Angel's grasp, and she was taken to the division ship, and the division ship was in the void, which is a place that we've seen a couple of times mentioned anyway, mainly in season 2 with David Tennant with the void ship the Daleks owned, and the person who controls the ship is Tectayun, the adopted mother of the Doctor in the Timeless Children arc of last season. And then basically for the Doctor we just get a lot of exposition about who the division is and stuff. So she's not actually in this episode much. She doesn't do very much. She never actually leaves the division ship once she gets there, and that's like a second scene in the whole thing. Her first scene just kind of being around the Angels, and yeah, she doesn't really leave that area, and all her scenes is just a back and forth between her and Tectayun, and her trying to figure out why she could figure out how to stop the flux from happening, because Tectayun's plan was to send the flux, destroy that universe, and then make go into the next universe, start the next universe. And because the Doctor saved enough of the universe, she needs to send another set of the flux in. And we basically learn that we kind of re-established the Doctor was part of the division. She didn't like the division type thing, and then go on to talk about, and then they kind of go on to mention how they wiped her memories because thought they could just leave her alone, but she'd become too much of a threat and too much of a problem saving the worlds and stuff. And yeah, that's kind of what they do. And then obviously Vinder is in this episode a little bit. He kind of appears. He goes to a planet. He goes to a planet which we don't really know, and the swarm guy, he's there with the passengers, and Vinder gets captured in one of the passengers, and that's basically all he does. His girlfriend, she was in the Lipari ship, and she was about to go to the same place Vinder was at, but the Liparis basically hijacked her ship and sent her to Earth because one of the ships was malfunctioned and broke formation, so the Sontarans and Daleks and Cybermen all could break through, which was basically what was going to happen, which is most likely what's going to happen next episode. And so yeah, they went in. They haven't met yet. And then the only other character really of note, or the only thing that really of note now, was the kind of supreme leader that Vinder was worked for in, and that we saw in Once Upon a Time Part 3 of the Flux. He was in it as well, and he'd gone to Earth, and he's basically infiltrated UNIT. He's kind of popping up at the right times, infiltrating UNIT, time jumping sort of thing. And then basically he's just kind of worked his way into UNIT. He was in the right place at the right time, talking to the guy who's supposed to form UNIT, or who funded it or whatever, and worked to make UNIT kind of thing that wasn't the Brigadier, obviously. Then there was more similar things, some more kind of cases where he tried to become the head of unit, stuff like that, be the director, stuff, and then obviously, and then it cuts to 2017, and we see Kate Stewart, who's we've seen before in a lot of Matt Smith, some of Matt Smith and a lot of Peter Capaldi episodes, and she kind of has a back and forth with him because she can obviously figure out that he's not who he says he is, because he kind of pops up, never getting older, but he just pops up and changes his name because obviously it's, kind of thing, and she figures it out, and then obviously she says she needs to go dark, because he threatens basically to, he almost kills her, but he fails by blowing up her house, and she needs to go dark, so I think she'll probably appear in some way, shape or form in the last episode, which will be quite good to see her again. Now, my overall thoughts on this episode itself was quite good. There was lots of things going on. There was the story's starting to wrap itself up a little bit. You can clearly see that the Tecteun obviously died in the division. I think the division is now more or less kind of like finished in a way, because once the Doctor, because Tecteun got killed, which I didn't mention, but Tecteun got killed at the end of the cliffhanger by the Swarm. Because they got kind of killed by the Swarm, there's not really a leader anymore. As Tecteun says, she was herself the leader. So I think the division's probably going to get wrapped up in this series. I don't know if that's true, but I think it probably will, get wrapped up, because there's not really much more that there's to do with it. Then the Doctor herself obviously will go back and most likely, get her friends out of the time period. But Yaz, Dan and Jericho all ended up in Liverpool, and they've found these doorways that seem to take them to different places. So I think that might not be a bad shout to say that they're probably going to end up back in present day 2021, and most likely Liverpool. In the final episode. And then obviously Vinder is in a passenger at the moment, and he's with Dan's friend who we saw in the first episode and kind of had a quick glance at in more of the Sontarans. So she's going to probably play a bit of a bigger role in this final episode, and they're most likely going to break out of the passenger, and those two characters and Vinder's girlfriend are all probably going to kind of reunite, and then she's going to go off back to Earth type thing. I think that's probably the best shot to happen. Overall, I think this episode was good. I'd give it a solid, I think a solid 7 out of 10. I think at the moment it worked, but I think the Doctor didn't do enough. And it's fine when you have Doctor-like episodes. I think Blink and I think Family of Blood and Human Nature to a degree are like that, but mainly when the Doctor doesn't play much of a role. So Blink, the Doctor's more or less absent and we're following Sally Sparrow, and then for Human Nature, Family and Blood, the Doctor isn't in the story because he's the John Smith character that he doesn't realise he's the Doctor. But mainly Blink, it's fine to not have the Doctor in it as much. It does work well, but I think when you're exploring something that's quite... Because I think when you're exploring... As Chris Chibnall is, he's created this arc in this story, the Timeless Child arc, and I think a lot of people didn't take to it quite well, and I didn't myself. I don't like it. I think it was really badly done. But if you're going to then decide to stick with the arc, if you're going to decide, well, I'm not going to just say it was a lie, or make it so it's not true, and you're going to stick with the arc, I think you need to spend some more time clarifying her backstory a little bit more, and B, maybe even showing us some more memories with Joe Martin, giving us more time to see Joe Martin's Doctor in action, but also just to see a bit more of her past, because I think at the moment what he's done is he's kind of been drip feeding us a little bit of stuff, and I'm hoping that in the final episode we see more of the Doctor's past. But it's just one of those things you just kind of need to give us more. I think he needs to spend more time looking at the Doctor's past and more about clarifying her backstory. But yeah, that was the story. I think it was a solid one overall. But if you have enjoyed this video, please consider liking and subscribing, as it does really help me out. But yeah, see you.